Hello and welcome to the first and final episode of the 7UP R podcast. In this program, we will be looking at a very special script, the RT.R R tidier script. But this is not only in response to a project. This is also a way to create art, get it, with R. And also to give you a couple of random tips, tricks, and truths along the way. So this is the RT.R script. To be able to create art though, we need a little bit of music. And to get music, we need a rhythm section, right? We need some bass. So let's get a bass section, let's get a guitarist in the form of a stringer, and let's give ourselves a couple of notes. On that point, let me give a quick note over here. While we're busy with these by the way sections, please don't take it too seriously. All of it is real code, all of it is really executed, and the result you'll see at the end is real and comes directly from the code without any other weird additions from the outside. You'll just have to take my word for that. But do not try to understand that, just enjoy it. We will, however, be serious about this as well. So, towards that end, we need to load a couple of packages. What this does is it loads the packages like ggplot to draw graphs or model metrics to do model evaluations. It checks if they are installed, and if they are not installed, they are installed. Otherwise, they are just loaded. Throughout the rest of this video, what I will do is explain a section to you, then go back, minimize the section, select the entire section, open it up again so that you can see the entire section is selected, and then run that entire section. For instance, in this section, like I said, R is now busy loading all of the packages. Thank you, R, for loading all those packages, which means I can quickly jump in and give you a note. This note reads that, by the way, here is note A. Let us all halt while R thinks. Did you ever observe how much time you waste? Like really? Through typing the assignment operator, for instance. Ridiculous, despite its beauty. Stay tuned for a solution. Before giving you that solution though, we're first going to have to import some data. We do that by reading files from a CSV, quickly checking out the head of the resulting data frame and the structure thereof. Running this entire block and waiting for it to import. This is quite a large file, as you would have all realized, and thus it takes R quite a while to read it. And as we can see from the structure printed, this is a very, very messy data set, which we'll try to clean. But before we do that, here's a quick tip first. The message reads, by the way, here is note B. In note A, we did examine the assignment operator. Actually, there's a shortcut that can be created. Alt plus minus. Do your art and let RStudio handle the tediousness of typing. Instead of typing the operator out manually, why not just press Alt minus and R gives you the operator just like that. Moving on to our next important section, and probably the most important section, the explanatory data analysis. Quickly going to run this entire section before I start talking about it, because the describe function takes a while to load. During this explanatory data analysis, we looked at the data set using structure and describe, and we formulated a couple of strategies to make this data more clean, make it better, which basically boils down to reducing the complexity of the data set and cleaning a couple of columns, which we'll run through next. But before we do that, dare I say, as soon as R allows me to. By the way, there is note C. Ever noticed the sewage pipes in the toilet? Thought you didn't. They're hidden. Using that idea in R isn't such a leap. Into a section heading, code can be hidden or folded. To get such a heading, stay tuned. Referring to all of these beautiful section headings I have over here, like I said, stay tuned to hear exactly how you can do that. But first, let's reduce some complexity. Once again, quickly going to run it and then talk you through what we're doing. Firstly, we calculate a sum of all of the duplicated rows. As you can see, there's quite a lot of it. Entire rows and rows that are just exactly the same. So to simplify this data set, we removed all of those rows. Next, we also dropped a bunch of variables that had ridiculous and not worthwhile information in them, leaving us with a data frame of only 36 variables, which is a lot more manageable than what we worked with previously. Let's take a quick break and see what other note I have in store. By the way, there is no D. Back to my previous analogy about the toilet. Feeling cold folding might be useful to you. I'm sure you do. Well, you'll have to wait. First, we go deeper. We get the realm of stuff, through the realm of clean data, and ultimately to the realm of truth. But to get there, it requires data cleaning, which we will be doing next. Once again, I'm quickly going to run this entire section and then talk you through it. What we do in this section, going through my code, don't mind the console at the bottom. First, there's a bunch of variables which need to be turned into factors. Some of them are integers, some of them are characters, so you'll see a lot of these kind of lines which mutate a specific variable into a factor of that variable. Sometimes we choose what the levels are. For instance, in this case, there's a clear yes and no level, and sometimes we take the levels to be all of the unique values of that variable. However, factors aren't the only thing we need to create or need to cast as. Some variables are specifically dates and they need to be changed to that. Sometimes there's a lot of nulls and we need to handle all of the nulls. So in a lot of the cases, we took the median of that variable and substituted that for all of the null data. A couple of medians. Sometimes though, it wasn't suitable just to substitute a median. For instance, in profession, when we count profession, and I might need to go up a little while to show you that. When we do a count on profession, we can see, sorry about that, that there are a lot of values which have nulls in them. We thus reckon that this is not just, you can't just take a mean of that, there are so many nulls, they can be considered a category in and of themselves, which is why we specifically substituted a 0 towards all of them, and then once again also converted it into a factor. Like I said, some of the factors, we created the levels for them, and some of them we took the levels from the unique values within them. Plotted a couple of values, which I will not specifically go through now. Like I said, tedious. You need to go through the variables one by one, making sure that they are cast as the right type, especially making sure that the factors have the right levels, and then do substitutions for the missing values, and deciding how you're going to handle that. And with that, I am done with cleaning all of the columns, which means we can quickly take a break again and read another note. By the way, here is an E. Finally, cold folding can help you take that code that will help you ensure that code does not overwhelm you. To add section headings, add a comment line. Then, at the end of that line, end it with either 4 pound signs or 4 minus signs. See, it works. That line then becomes a section heading. Look at all of these section headings of mine. When you expand them, you can see that every section heading starts, it's a normal comment, and then it ends with at least 4 minus signs, as in the case of all of my joke sections, and 4 pound signs, as is the case with all of my serious sections. So you can create section headings, which then enable you to do all of these beautiful things like cold folding, have a table of contents of your sections on the right-hand side, and even jump to your sections over here. You can do all of that by creating these section headings, starting it as a comment and ending it with 4 pound signs or 4 minus signs. And that was note E, after we did some data cleaning, which means next we jump into a little bit of descriptive statistics. Within this descriptive statistics, we look at a couple of random stats like the mean, do a plot, which I'm not going to do now, but run anyway, just so that you knew I ran all of the code in this notebook, or in the script. And then once that is done, we can actually do calculate a couple of correlations only of a couple of the more important numerical columns, and then also plot this in a correlation plot. For me to be able to do that, however, the correlation plot is fairly big and doesn't fit in nicely within this window, so we might not be able to run through that now, but I'll run it anyway, just once again so that you know I haven't skipped anything. On the point of not skipping anything, let us move to the next little bit of a joke section. The note reads, or at least it will read as soon as R is busy thinking about all of the plots that I asked it to do. The note will read, by the way, here is note F. Thank you very much, R. Like I said, I'm sorry the plot doesn't show very nicely. The note reads, by the way, here is note F. Functions are insane, aren't they? Here's an example, and a little life lesson too. We all need a little dose of truth every now and again, do we not? Here's my function, with a little life lesson attached. Your present situation is a function of your surroundings and what you focus on. Now, to change your surroundings, the first step is in your attitude. You can either focus on the positive, as in this case, or you can focus on the negative. I implore you, do not focus on the negative. Once your attitude is right, the next step, and ultimately success, is achieved by focusing not on your entire surroundings, but essentially taking a substream of it, and really focusing on one thing at a time. And while we're on the point of our present situation, let's be serious. Our present situation, all of us, is R. Please don't read too much into it. Before you do, let's continue with the rest of this video, and specifically model preparation. Model preparation divided into variable selection and test, data, and training set. I'm going to run through them all at the same time. Basically, we saw in the previous section, or well, you didn't see it because I didn't show it to you. but the correlation between a bunch of these variables are very high. And therefore, some of the variables, specifically the two ones that are very highly correlated with this 90 days variable, we just chose to remove. So we'll not look at them, we'll only include the average of the last 90 days and not the other two as well, since those three variables are very highly correlated. Some of the variables also need to be refactored to work correctly with the second model, with a binary classification model. Next, we can split our dataset into a training and a validation dataset, and see that there's another note that we have to look at. What does this note tell us? It says, by the way, here is note G. And there's a very special reason. Well, this one specifically is called note G. Are you tired of typing the pipe operator? Introducing the wonder of Control-Shift-N. Do yourself a favor and use it in all your code. So instead of manually typing out the pipe operator every single time, why not use the shortcut? Just hit Control-Shift-N, boom, you've got your pipe operator. You might have seen in our code, we absolutely love our pipes. Next though, we can jump into the actual models, into the two linear regression and the classification model that we ran. I'm going to quickly describe it and then run the entire model. We run the model, quickly show you what the model outputs in a tidy way as well, and then run a prediction and do a test on the prediction, comparing the predicted values versus the real values in the testing dataset. So let's run this entire section. And I'm already laughing because I've obviously run this a couple of times, and I know that this is not the best model in the world. But hey, we weren't told to make the best model in the world. We were told to be entertaining, which I don't even know if we've achieved that. At least I'm talking fast. Running to our binary classification, same idea. Running the model, calculating a couple of probabilities as well, doing a couple of tables to show you the accuracies, precisions, all of that. And ultimately also doing a test of the model, testing whether it's any good. Since this is not an exercise in machine learning and model building, I don't want to set a breakpoint, I just want to select the entire thing and run it. And while it waits, it might take a while because it wants to calculate a couple of plots as well, I am going to introduce my final section. This section, which is my personal favorite, which is where we're going to use the script we just made, and from that script, create art. Because art is here to stay. Also, just as you can see, this model was a fairly good one, but that's besides the point. We're creating art. So, to make art, to make any form of music, you need notes, right? You need to play the notes. And a song can't just have a melody. It needs to have a word or words as well. So what happens if we run notes, words, and come on, this has to be a kind of a jazzy song, so it obviously needs a pipe in there. What happens? What art do we create from this script and all of those beautiful notes that I shared with you? That doesn't look like art to me. Something went wrong. Or did it? Because herein lies a lesson in art appreciation. Sometimes you need to look at something from a different perspective. So let's look at this from a different perspective. And then we'll see a little piece of art. Halt. Examine. Let thought, let feeling overwhelm. Wonder. Observe, recreate, leap into a deeper realm. We do, really through art, get to see truth in all its beauty. Another lesson in art, though, is that art isn't really useful if it isn't applicable to your life, if it doesn't change something. So what happens if we apply art to our present situation? Do we get something of value? I believe we do. And with that, I would like to conclude and thank everyone for the something of value that we did indeed get out of this course. I thank you.